So in this episode, we're going to have a look at the logic of the job guarantee. Since it's a pretty new thing and yet pretty integral into having a good economy. So if we look at the way the economy behaves, or way the wages system will behave in a fully free-floating market wages sort of environment, which is the one we have, this is the relationship between unemployment and wage inflation. And this is when you have high unemployment down here, unemp, and this is where you have pretty much no unemployment, just so you know where we stand. So what happens is not much happens actually for a long period of time, and then you reach a certain point and the relationship, like the inflation, will start to rise rapidly. So let's say we put that as the divider between where there's not much of a change to where there's a rapid change. And this occurs at around 4 to 5% unemployment. So this is less unemployment here and this is more unemployment. So what will happen is if you go get your unemployment down lower than this, say to 3, 2 or 1% unemployment, your wage inflation that you'll have rises up rapidly. Now, what this is going to mean is that if we kind of use that split from the Trident model, where we had profits, capital, and wages, then I said you had dead bands that they operate in. If this wages one is going up rapidly, it will cause these other two to be decreased down, and what will eventually lead to is a decrease in productivity. And then to get some or any profit, what will have to happen is that the company has to offload people. So if we draw that as a graph versus time, what will happen is I'll put like 7% unemployment. This is unemployment on this one, to 4%. So over some time in an improving economy, your unemployment rate will drop down and down and down and down. And then you, as you reach low levels, your wage inflation, or you get a bit underneath 4%, your wages will rise rapidly up. And what will have to happen then is the company, so in this zone, that's wages rise pretty rapidly. And then to keep having some profit, the company will have to offload some people. So to compensate, what they'll do is offload people, and then eventually you reach somewhere where the wages drop back down or stay stable, and it kind of levels off, and then you'll have a period of time, the economy stables out, and unemployment will drop down again until you get below 4% or whatever, and wages rise, and so on and so forth. So what you will tend to have is your economy will forever cycle between sort of 4 and 7% unemployment. And like the key thing here is that you're never going to get down to very low levels of unemployment. So like using the metaphor of an economy as a person, which we tend to do, we currently are led to believe via the narrative that the economy is your friend, and if you do the right things and you like get yourself skilled up or whatever, well, you'll get a job. That might work for you as an individual, but at the scale of a system, it does not work like that. There is an amount of people for which, under the current system, it is impossible for them to have a job. The system will not allow unemployment to get below about 4%. So to fix this then, what we need to do is have a system where when we get to the 4% unemployment, 4% to 0%, in this block here, instead of allowing this part of this group of people that sits in this zone here to be paid in the floating wages market system, which allows the wage inflation, you take them out of that system and you offer the job guarantee, which is an employment system where you're paid at a fixed rate. So even if unemployment goes up, you can't negotiate your wages and then drive wage inflation higher. Another feature as well is that you set it equal to the minimum wage, the private sector's minimum wage, so equal to min wage. Because if you set it higher than the minimum wage, well, it's going to drive, like, people are going to come out of the bottom levels of the private sector and into the job guarantee, and then to get them back out of there, the private sector is going to have to offer higher wages. So you equal it to the minimum wage, and basically avoid this whole issue up here, and everyone's happy. People that want a job, these 4% of people, or this 4%, however you want to represent them, are able to get employment, and the economy is able to handle it for sure, because the inflation rate isn't affected because we've got a fixed rate on our, like, people taking up the jobs. So everyone wins. And like, people might think, oh, well, it's going to cost money to do it. True, it is going to cost money, but remember where wealth comes from. Wealth comes from productivity. And so if you, at the same time as implementing the job guarantee, get more actual value back from the productivity of having, like, in Australia, 4% of working population is like 600,000 people or something like that. So you can have either those guys sitting around doing nothing or doing something. What do you think is going to have more productivity? I'm going to tick this one. And therefore it's basically self-funding, self-paying for itself. So it's, to me, it's a no-brainer. It's like, to me, it's, even just as a moral case, it's unfair to make it so that the economy excludes people from being able to participate. So just on that alone, like, if we had scrapped the whole public sector and starting again, then my first priority in the public sector, or my second priority, first would be the health system, then the next thing after that would be the job guarantee, ahead of even an education system. So that's the kind of logic behind the job guarantee. In a later episode, I'm going to put out some details of how I would set my job guarantee, because there's a fair few little nuanced bits of information on how to set your job guarantee. So I'll run through that later. So next episode, though, is going to be on trying to put all this stuff you've learnt together in sort of one little quick presentation, so you can pretend that you are the Prime Minister and what sort of considerations you need to have when you run the economy properly, taking into account MMT and productive capacity science.